Okay, so we're going to be quickly looking at noses and ears in this video. But like we went over in class, and like you'll see, they're not too difficult. Ooh, my camera's doing weird. They're not too difficult, and the stuff we're going to be looking at is the big gestural stuff, so nothing too weird. Yeah, nothing too weird. Nothing. We don't have to remember any kind of complex shapes. We don't have to remember any kind of complex names or anything like that. And with the nose, same thing. There's several different parts of the nose, and really, if you went into it, you'd find a lot of different stuff. But again, we're only going to look at very, very simply. So let's start off with the ear. Now, I kind of introduced you to one of my little nomenclatures, I guess you'd call it. Cattail Y. Cattail Y. That's just because, for me, there are two shapes in the ear. There are two shapes in the ear which we can use to form it correctly. Let's get it in the right position. And that is literally a cattail and a Y shape. So the cattail is very simple. If you've got the arse of the cat right there, that's where you got your tragus, I think it's called, and the antihelix, I think. And you go round as a cattail. So that's cattail Y. Well, it's cattail. And then Y would be inside the ear. You do have, I think this is your helix, a Y shape. Some people have got really, really prominent Y shapes in their ear. Some people have not got very prominent Y shapes. You've all got them though, because it's how sound enters the ear. All the shapes of the ear are all evolved to basically redirect sound into your ear canals. So for me, cattail Y is just a good way to think about the ear and the ear shapes. Some people also use a question mark. It's like a question mark shape, but that doesn't include the inside of the ear. Right. So, how do we actually start it off? Very, very simple. I'm just going to grab my move tool first, actually, because I'm going to see if this is the right shape, if it feels like the right shape, if I'm using reference, if it looks like the right shape. Now, from the front, I think it looks okay. Bit wing nutty, but not bad. From the side, I'm not a massive fan of this shape, so what I'm going to do is just drag some of it back, open up the ear a little bit. And I'm going to deal with the ear canal, or the lobe down here later on. Okay. Now another thing, because we're now in the realm of very, very small detail, what we have to be careful of, not necessarily small detail, sorry, thin surfaces, is something like, see if it happens, something like this happening, where I can be building up, doing a bunch of stuff on the ear, and then from the back, it's not actually doing it now, of course it's not. Have I got the setting I've not got the setting turned on. I'll make my brush nice and big. Basically, if you make the back of the ear, or the ear itself too thin, there you go. Sometimes when you're actually creating strokes, you're brushing in information, it can start to pull surface on the opposite side towards it. Because this brush, don't think of it like a flat disc. It's a ball. It's a 3D sphere. So the things on the opposite side of that sphere will get pulled towards basically your brush center, and you can have stuff like that happens, and then that's when you start getting holes in your mesh when you dynamesh. And it's best to catch that stuff early, so that you don't have to do a bunch of really crap fixing later on. Now, one thing we can do to actually mitigate this quite a bit is if we go into our brush menu with our clear buildup turned on, we go down to auto masking, and then we have back face masking, or back face mask. Turn that on. That stops that from happening. And that's one of the buttons I have on my custom UI all the time, because it's something I have to turn on and off all the time. It's on individual brushes. It's not a setting that it goes across all brushes now. So if I go to like damn standard and go back to that menu, you can see it's not actually turned on. Behind my head, there you go. You can see it's not actually turned on, but on clear buildup it is turned on. And some brushes actually don't want this turned on to work. The move brush, for instance, if you were to get the move brush and turn on back face masking, the move brush wouldn't work properly. So it is between individual brushes, and it's not for everyone. So, make sure it's turned on, which it is, and then just start sculpting on the information. Now, one thing I'm going to do straight away is make sure I've got symmetry on, which I have. I'm just going to start chiseling out the ear. Bit of a bigger brush, Dave. There you go. Now, one thing that I often do, and I have to kind of go back and rework it later on, is I make my ears, the tail, the rim of my ear there, too thick. I don't make it thin enough. So I'm going to push that back. And what I'm also doing is making sure that I'm not pushing through to the opposite side, because the same thing's going to happen as I was talking about before. Your meshes will get too close to each other, and then when you Dynamesh, you'll get holes in them. So I'll just be a bit careful, thin out my ear a little bit, make a bit of a recess so I can get some of that information, and then start getting in some of those, because you've got your, I think they're called cochlea or something like that. Basically all the little valleys in your ear, or the depressions, I want to be able to get them in there and basically pull the Y shape out, is what I like doing anyway. I'm going to dig in a bit of an ear canal, but I'm not really going to go that deep into it. And what I'm also, I caught a few people doing it in class, or they've not noticed in class, is I'm going to make sure that the ear blends into the head, and not just like, it's not just like a thing that's attached to the head that you can clearly see it's a foreign shape. I'm going to blend it in a little bit. Just look at your reference, you know, look at yourself, look at people around you, just look at the shapes of the ear. So begin to bring that round. I'm being careful at this point. Any point from here, I'm starting to get more and more careful with my sculpting, but I'm still kind of being a bit free, with no fear of sculpting or anything like that. That's looking okay. That's looking okay for now. And then I'm just going to get that Y shape in. So the top of the Y, and I bring that down, and I think I'm going to give him quite pronounced shape. Like that. Something like that. And then I'm going to go back, start chiseling out a bit more. Let's do Dynamesh. Clean up some of that surface. Then push it back. So I don't want any of these shapes to look like an implant or look fake. I do want it to blend into the head, but I'm pulling that information out first, then smooth it back later on, without using the smooth tool. I'm just going to be using my clear buildup, and possibly like Dam Standard, and possibly Trim Dynamic, just to chill out some of this information. Now really, I should have some reference for ears at the minute, so so I'm not just doing any guesswork, but I'm not doing it at the minute, but I really should. Probably why my ears are always wrong. And what I want you to do as well is, when you're looking at your reference for your ears, look how you've got like the overhang of your ear there as it overhangs, and now that kind of starts to blend into the ear and become flatter here. So I'm going to try and get that kind of information in there. This actually might be a good point for my standard brush. The default standard brush. I'm not a mad fan of it myself. Like I said in class, it's just kind of this soft edge brush. It's ZBrush is equivalent of like the airbrush inside Photoshop. It's very, very soft, but it might be alright for just making some of this information a bit softer. Oh, make sure I'm turning on backface masking, because it's a new brush. Yeah, I'm not pulling anything out there. So, you know, boom, boom, boom. Let's go around like that. So what I'm doing with the standard brush now is using it almost like I was using the Dam Standard a minute ago. I use that Dam Standard first to chisel in that information, and then I'm going to round it out a little bit using this, catching any weirdness that I might have accidentally. Oops, I did. There you go. So maybe just push some of this information back down, pull that out a little bit. Back of the ear, that's a bit sharp there, so let me just push that back. Smooth that in a little bit more. That's looking okay. Last thing for me to do, I'm just going to push the ear canal in a little bit more so I can make this kind of ridge here. Like I said, all these have actual proper lighted names. There's like the tragus, the helix, the anti-helix. I think there's the anti-tragus. I don't remember any of them. Ears have never been a thing that I really care about too much, knowing the names of. One last thing I'm going to do, and this is really good when you're doing bald people or people that you want to expose the back of the head a bit more, is you've got on your skull, you've got a bit of a lump. I'll use a tiny frank here. There you go. Hopefully you can see that. So you see this little like nubbin. That's behind your ear. So your ear canal is here. So this little nubbin is about here. So what I'm going to do is just build that up slightly. And what this does, it just kind of helps to get a bit of a better shape for your head. You know, it's one of those attention to details that once you do it, people see it and it's like, ooh, that's a good attention to detail. I'm going to hit this with a bit of smooth. Just a bit of smooth. There you go. Boom. So that's my ears done. And we're still at a stage now where I can get my move brush and start pulling it apart and stuff. I'm not too fussed. And I'm going to leave it like that because, again, I'm going to be dynameshing a bunch. You know, at this stage, I've not done my lips on this particular dude. So I'd have to go in there and be doing that kind of stuff anyway. So knowing that, I'm going to leave my ears like that at this point. And then we'll come back later on, have a look at them. In fact, I've just seen something that I know that will annoy me. Let me just build up and blend in this bit. Just blend in this bit. Okay. Cool. Now to the nose. Again, really, really easy. There are 3-4 parts of the nose. You've got, I've not even got a funny little thing for this as well. It's just 4 parts. You've got the body of the nose there. Very good. You've got the bulb of the nose. See the end bit there? You've got the nostrils, which is all this encompassing bit here. Then you've got your septum right there. A bit that I don't really like touching. It's a bit weird. And what I'm going to do with that is, again, it's just clay build up, maybe with a standard brush, damn standard. I'm going to start making the nostrils. So I'm not going to make just round holes that go in like that. Again, look at noses. Look at how these things are actually shaped. I'm going to do something a little bit like this. And I'm also going to push that against the mouth so there's no balcony here. Some people do have a bit of a balcony, bit of a thing there. But I'm going to keep mine quite flat so the nostril runs directly into the philtrum and then down into the maxilla. Push up a bit more. Again, just like with the ear canal, I don't need to go massive with this. Really, really deep. All I'm going to do is just push it up a little bit. There we go. Then I can just do a bit of smoothing on there. That's good. Clay build, damn standard. Not clay build up at all. I'm just going to start to chisel that information out. So some of this information you might have already had in there from your initial sculpting sections. This bit especially, this little goes into the mouth, into the laugh line there, goes under into the nose there. Sometimes it kind of disappears through dynameshing. So I'm just going to bring that back in, bring that information over, push it back a little bit. So again, what I'm doing is I'm introducing the information and then I'm pushing it back. So what it does, it actually leaves behind a little bit of information. Rather than trying to get that perfect, smooth, subtle kind of crease in there, I'm putting it in and then I'm pushing it back to try and achieve that. So I want to have that little bit of an edge there without painstakingly going in with a really, really weak brush. And just turn that in. And start to sculpt out the nostrils a little bit more. Skim around. So if you look at nostrils as well, they kind of make a loop round, so they go up, round, and then up into the nose like that. Kind of what I'm doing here. So you see, nothing too hard. What I am looking for here is the width of this septum, the angle of the nostrils. If I'm using a subject, if I'm using reference, I'm looking at how big their nostrils are. It's why it's good to look at all the different angles and not just have one view from the front or from the side. Because your nostrils will look a certain way from the front. They'll look a certain way from three-quarters, and then they'll look a certain way from profile. And then the rest of this, I'm just going to do a bit of shaping up. So I'm going to get this nice bulb at the end of the nose. There's that split in two halves kind of thing. You know, when you feel the the tip of your nose, you can feel it's kind of like two sections. There are two sections. So I'm just going to put that in. And yes, I am using a smooth brush. I know I said I don't want to use it, but there are points in here now that I'm just going to carefully use it. But again, just like I was talking about, if I'm going to go and do my mouth anyway, I'm going to end up losing so much information, then have to come back and add it in later on anyway. That's just the way I do stuff. I'm going to flatten it off a little bit. You know, the shape of your nostrils is important. So what I'm going to do is try and flatten mine out a little bit so they're not quite as round. Like that. Maybe I've done it a bit too much. There you go. Not bad. You know, could be better, could be worse. But for this stage, this is all I'm really wanting. That's better. So, boom, that's it. That's ears and noses. That's all we really need to do. Because we've done all the main information through the initial blockings, especially in stage 1, when we had the, part 1 and the first stages. So you got stage 1, 2, 3. They're getting your neck and your chin and your side of your head flattened. And then you're getting your eye sockets in, then you're getting the nose in there. Then you're pulling out your ears. All that information, majority of that information is done at those stages. At this point, all we're doing now is starting to get into the realm of shaping, especially when it comes to doing anything that's likeness based. We were actually starting to look at our subjects and go, how is the shape of this? How is the shape of this? How is the shape of this? Whereas that's to get. This is the knife edge point, because I do find a lot of this quite fun to do, but then it gets into the realm of like fine detailing, and you're just nudging things, which, like I said in class, for me that gets a bit boring. I love this stage of stuff. Cool. So that's it. Where's my mouse? There you are.